Salut à tous et bienvenue dans Story Série saison 2, épisode 22. Cette semaine, nous accueillons un vampire en rédemption, une icône de la série Teenage.
Hello, cutie.
Le très charismatique James Marsters. 15 ans après la fin de Buffy contre les vampires, série féministe et bienveillante de Joss Whedon dont l'impact sur le monde sériel est encore vivace, tant par son message que par sa sincérité, James Marsters renoue avec la crise adolescente dans Marvel's Runaways.
Why is my mom's purse here?
This is some Narnia shit.
Adaptée du comics, la série suit une bande d'ados dotés de super pouvoirs. Ils combattent leurs propres parents après avoir découvert que ces derniers faisaient partie d'une étrange secte aux intentions maléfiques. Comment James Marsters conserve-t-il son enthousiasme intact après un quart de siècle devant la caméra? Réponse enjouée.
I came down to Los Angeles because I became a father. I remember telling my agent, I'm not here for awards. I'm not here to prove myself as an actor. I've been a theater actor for decades.
Yeah.
I got all the awards in theater. I'm a good actor. I've known that for a long time. I'm here for diaper money. So let's just make some money.
Will you hold on a second? Hey! White flag or quit.
Let me clear this up for you. We're mortal enemies. We don't get time out.
If we try to make links between the Runaways and Buffy, I think both of the shows give teenagers real souls, real hearts. Like, they're not treated like kids. They're treated like people becoming grown-ups and being themselves and being strong. And I was wondering if this is something you look for in your job, especially as a father, to be sure that this message is out.
Both Buffy and Runaways are talking about how do you get from being a child to being an adult? How do you cross the bridge of adolescence when you realize for the first time that your parents are liars, that your teachers don't understand what's going on, that the people who are running the country don't really care about the country? How do you get through that without giving up?
We're not ready. They're not ready. They think we're gonna wait for the end to come, like we always do. I'm done waiting. They want an apocalypse. Well, we'll give them one. There's only one thing on this earth more powerful than evil. And that's us.
How do you get through that without becoming a villain yourself? And I think both shows offer the gift is this is how I did it. This is what I think is important. Neither of the shows really talk. They're not preachy. They're not like, we're adults and you're kids, and this is what you should be remembering right now, little girl. That's not what it is at all. One of the things about Buffy that was really interesting is that Joss was asking his writers to come up with their worst day. The day that they fell short. The day that they hurt someone that they shouldn't have hurt, or the day that they were really humiliated, and slap fangs on top of that dark secret, the one that you don't tell anyone about and tell the whole world. And so Buffy wasn't really a show about this is what you should be remembering in your adolescence. It was just adults saying, this sucked for me back when I was a kid. This hurt. Am I alone? Or are you going through the same thing? So that's how it avoided being preachy.
Our parents lied to us. If we're gonna be different, we gotta trust each other.
Our parents are still murderers. And we still have an earthquake to stop.
Do you even know what's at the bottom of that hole? The thing that Jonah is willing to kill for?
I don't know how Josh and Stephanie do it, the writers and producers of Runaways. They've done other shows where the adolescent characters really ring true. Somehow they haven't forgotten what that felt like.
Yeah. I think being an artist helps you remembering that maybe. Opening yourself all the time. It's being in a fragile state that is teenagehood in a way.
Yeah, but a lot of artists can get really kind of high-minded. Some artists can feel like, I've discovered the truth and I'm going to share it with the world. You know, it's a big trap, actually.
I have the feeling that growing up with television, you find the few shows that help you grow and help you, that become your friends in a way. Did you have that growing up?
Yeah, for me it was Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was in love with this idea that we don't have to give up on our race, that humanity might actually make it, that we could, that hope was not illogical, that humans might just have enough wisdom to make a good future for themselves. And Star Trek actually said, no, there is a bright future, and by the way, these are some of the things that we think will get us there, like diversity, like they had the first interracial kiss on Star Trek between Kirk and Uhura, and I remember when Buffy had a teenage lesbian kiss, I thought, we did it, we got our kiss. Yeah.
Shh, Tara. Shh, darling. Can't do this. We can do this.
I always feel like an actor is like a waiter. The writer is the chef.
Yeah.
The actor is the waiter. So as an actor, I just have to get the dish from the kitchen to the table without dropping it. And if I start spinning around and trying to draw attention to myself and say, look at me, I'm so fancy, I will drop that dish.
It's funny you said that because you've been in a lot of ensemble shows, like many characters going together, and I guess you need to find a balance to do what you said, which is I'm not going to spin around and do the show like I'm the only one here. You have to deal with everybody, every character, every actor. How do you feel this balance is found?
Wow, you know, the truth is when they say action on me, it's the Victor show.
Oh,
it's like the show is called Victor. But I think that's okay. Like right now, I'm in the James show. Like this movie is called James Marsters, and it started when I woke up this morning. And I'm sure for you, it's the same. Your movie is not called James.
It is, actually.
Oh, wow, no. Working in an ensemble is just a lot easier when the ensemble is good.
Yeah.
And I came to Runaways and I found I was in the middle of the most humble, hardworking, grateful people that I'd ever worked with. Father and son, playing together at the beach. I'm an idiot. I am making you a man! But you don't want that, do you? You want to be a baby.
You did it again! You tricked me into thinking you changed, but you know what? I'm done now. What? It would have been better if you just...
The only really frustrating thing about Runaways, the thing that sucks actually, is that the kids are better than we are.
Oh, come on.
Oh no, it's true.
It's true.
Their scenes are way more compelling than ours.
They are the one we're supposed to like more.
Man, well, it's like I know how the trick works.
Yeah.
Like, and all of us parents are the same. Like, we all thought we would be helping these young actors learn about acting, and we're going to show you the ropes. And it's been slowly dawning on us that they don't need any help at all, and that they're very professional and they're so talented. It's just not fair because you're supposed, like, experience should pay off at some point. But I look at the show and I'm like, it didn't pay off. They're better.
Thank you very, very much. Damn, you're deep. Even in the morning.
Yeah, well, I drank a lot of coffee.
Thank you.
Yeah, my
very,
pleasure.
very much.
Right on.
Buffy n'a pas fait que sauver le monde, elle a laissé une trace indélébile dans l'histoire des séries télé.
Try picking on someone my own size.
Parmi ses nombreux mérites, elle a notamment donné l'impulsion à toute une flopée d'héroïnes badass, complexes et prêtes à tout pour se faire respecter dans un monde d'hommes. Sortie lors de son lancement, le grand public a d'abord vu en Buffy une sympathique série pour ados avec des vampires en plastique. Elle est rapidement devenue un modèle pour bien des adolescentes.
What are we all doing here? It's called training. Didn't your watcher ever teach you the word?
Avant Buffy, les super-héroïnes se faisaient cruellement rares sur nos écrans. Il a fallu que la société et les mœurs changent pour qu'on nous donne autre chose à voir que des amoureuses transies, des damoiselles en détresse ou des mères au foyer croulant sous la charge mentale. Aujourd'hui, elles terrassent des monstres, font la guerre et déjouent des complots d'envergure, la preuve par 4. La méconnue Wynonna Earp est à bien des égards celle qui a le plus fort lien de parenté avec Buffy. Créée par Emily Andras en 2016 et adaptée des comics du même nom, la série suit la descendante de Wyatt Earp dans sa mission d'éradiquer de sa ville une horde de démons.
Two choices. You can help me, or you cannot help me and die.
Lights out, bitch.
Buffy avait des pieux, Wynonna son revolver, le Peacemaker, qui renvoie les monstres qu'elle croise direct en enfer.
Regular guns can slow the rev heads down, but they will always come back for more until they meet Peacemaker, which only I can handle.
Et comme son aînée, cette sauveuse à l'humour grinçant s'entoure d'un Scooby Gang qui l'aide dans sa quête.
Oh, come on, that was hilarious!
Autre personnage issu des comics, Michonne a également mérité ses galons de guerrière. Sa première apparition dans The Walking Dead, en toute fin de saison 2, est iconique. Elle n'est alors qu'une silhouette armée d'un katana et tenant en laisse 2 zombies mutilés. Michonne a longtemps erré en solitaire, ne dépendant que d'elle-même pour sa survie. Si elle n'est pas l'héroïne de la série, elle en devient rapidement l'un des piliers et son départ programmé pour la saison 10 devrait laisser un grand vide. Le super pouvoir de Peggy Carter, c'est d'être constamment sous-estimée par ses collègues masculins qui ne voient en elle qu'une secrétaire fragile.
Grounded beans over there, Carter? This is field agents only.
It's okay, Chief. Let her stay. Maybe she'll learn something.
Oh, thank you, Agent. I already have.
Pourtant, l'agent du SSR, ancêtre du SHIELD, leur donnera tort à plusieurs reprises durant les 2 saisons de Marvel Agent Carter. Peggy est intelligente, drôle et a un super crochet du droit. Celle qu'on a d'abord connue comme l'amoureuse au caractère bien trempé de Steve Rogers dans le premier Capitaine America n'a désormais plus à prouver sa valeur. En 2 saisons, la belle Dolores est devenue une machine à tuer. Avec Buffy, Joss Whedon avait déjà retourné ce trope de la blondine offensive qui se faisait trucider dans les films d'horreur. Une caractéristique qu'elle partage avec Dolores, la douce et naïve androïde de Westworld, qui s'avéra être une arme de destruction massive. Celle qui a servi de joujou aux visiteurs du parc, et en particulier à l'homme en noir durant des décennies, prend conscience de sa supériorité et se rebelle contre ses oppresseurs.
But those are all just roles you forced me to play.
Elle est l'élu qui guide ses semblables vers la liberté, non sans semer quelques cadavres sur son passage. Bref, 20 ans après, la relève de Buffy est assurée. Story Série, c'est terminé. La semaine prochaine, c'est les vacances. Et pour fêter ça, on reste dans les portraits de battantes en vous proposant de revoir notre interview préférée, celle de Sandy Newton, alias Maeve, dans Westworld. Allez, à la semaine prochaine.